This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Citizenship Amendment Act. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Satya Prakash, journalist.
Parliament passed the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 in the winter session of Parliament, and thereafter there has been protests against it and protests in favor of the Act also. Mr. Tandon, there has been controversy around this Act, with the government saying that there are no controversies. Why? Because it is meant for people who are victims of religious persecution in the neighborhood, while the critics say it's based on religion. What are the key provisions of this Act, and why are people opposing it?
First of all, we need to understand that this is not a new act. In fact, every country in the world has its own Citizenship Act, and that does not apply to the citizens of that country. Any citizenship amendment to that will apply. How many foreigners can be given citizenship? How can they be given citizenship? So therefore, first thing is clear that it is not a new act and it is not applicable to the citizens of this country.
The original act is that of 1955.
And that act of 1955 has been amended in 1986, 1992, 2003, 2005, 2015 and now again in 2019. So that means this is an amendment act. We need to go the background of this. Why we this time the 2019 now Amendment Act talks only in respect of people who have been religiously persecuted in respect of Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Before 1947, all Indians in this subcontinent were British subject. When India attained freedom, country was partitioned, and option before the people was either to become Indian citizen or become Pakistani citizen. So those who became Pakistani citizens, irrespective of their religion, and many people migrated also. There was large scale, unrest and violence when people moved from that part of India into new India because they wanted to select India as their motherland and their homeland. So those who remained in Pakistan, and that now includes Bangladesh also, had number of non-Muslims also. Because Pakistan became Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Later on Bangladesh became Islamic Republic of Bangladesh. Afghanistan also became Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Then what happened was in 1950, there was a pact between then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Liaquat Ali of Pakistan that all religious minorities in the two countries will be safeguarded, they will be given protection, they will enjoy equal rights. So under that pact, Pakistan and again also Bangladesh, they were supposed to be protecting the interests of the religious minorities. Because they could not do that, and against that in India all religious minorities enjoyed equal rights, there was persecution. Persecution was there in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh and in Pakistan, also in Afghanistan. Now who have come from Afghanistan? Because of Taliban, a few thousand Sikh families, they came to India as refugees. Similarly, many persecuted non-Muslim families came from Pakistan. I am trying to explain this first because the agitation which is going on in the rest of the country is that everybody should be allowed to come in, whereas the protest in Assam is that nobody should be allowed to come in. There is a huge contrast between the protests. So therefore, the total number of people who have already come before 31st of December 2014 and have already lived for more than 5 years, and their number is not more than 30,000.
No, in fact, what is important is the clarification. And this is important because people think that this law, the amendment is applicable for those who are going to come. In fact is that those who are already here, this law rather relaxes the norms for naturalization in case of the religiously persecuted communities. That's it. It is not discriminating against those who are going to come in future.
No, not even that. Those who have already come and have been living here for decades, will have to apply for citizenship because they are already living in this country as refugees. And refugees, they are living in refugee camps. I know hundreds of Sikh families who are living in refugee camps in Gurdwaras ever since they came from Afghanistan persecuted by the Taliban. So therefore you are right that those who want to come now can also apply. But the only thing is, these people who number as given by the Indian intelligence is, there are about 25,400 Hindus, 5,800 Sikhs and 60 Christians. No persecuted Muslim from Pakistan or Afghanistan has come here as refugee. Otherwise, Amendment Act would have included Muslims also, because those religiously persecuted minorities who have already come and living here for the last 10, 15 years, none of them is Muslim. So if any persecuted who suppose that he considers that he is being persecuted in Pakistan and he happens to be a Muslim, can come and apply for citizenship of India. So therefore, the people who are agitating, they will have to understand this is not an open-ended act. It is only for the limited purpose of granting citizenship to those who were persecuted by Taliban and the fundamentalists and terrorists in Pakistan, and they are already here.
So it rather gives a window to these communities or those who are religiously persecuted and they are already here. And the cutoff date is 31st of December 2014.
Not only that, people who have come here till 31st December 2014 should have already lived here for at least 5 years. That means they must have been here as refugees for the last 10 years, minimum. But there are people who have been living here as refugees for the last more than 20 years. And they have been living at the mercy of their community, their friends, but now they will get equal rights, they will be able to vote, they will be able to acquire property. They could not do anything. So therefore I think it needs to be considered and clarified. Firstly, it is not a new act. It is not applicable to everybody who will be coming from Pakistan, Afghanistan or even Bangladesh. It is for those who have already come as refugees, and because no Muslim from Afghanistan or Pakistan has come here as refugee persecuted by his own religion people. No, I will give a very interesting example, which is in a very light-hearted manner, that Pervez Musharraf family opted for Pakistan. He was born in Old Delhi and he went to Pakistan. Now because he has been given death sentence, he should rush and come to India through illegal channels and say, because I am Muhajir and I am being persecuted, so India should give me asylum. No, it's something like that. So unless a majority community person in Pakistan or Afghanistan is persecuted, and if he feels that he is being persecuted, he can apply for citizenship. Indian government can consider and grant it, but it cannot be automatic. So it has to be understood for people who are agitating, particularly in Delhi, UP, Bihar and other parts of the country.
One important thing is that this amendment doesn't apply to Indians at all. Doesn't affect their status as citizens.
As I said in the beginning, the Citizenship Act of any country is not applicable to the citizens. It is only for considering and granting citizenship to foreigners.
For the benefit of our listeners, let us tell them that there are 5 ways in which citizenship of a country can be acquired. That is by birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization, and by incorporation of particular territory or acquisition of territory. Like Sikkim became part of India in 1975, so those who were living in Sikkim automatically became citizens of India. So these are the ways one can acquire citizenship of India. And this particular amendment is only regarding citizenship by naturalization.
This amendment is only for a limited purpose. As I said, it can be amended again in future. Now, many people are asking, what about persecuted Tamils in Sri Lanka or persecuted Hindus from Nepal or say Bhutan? If they feel they are persecuted and they are already living here as refugees, then certainly Government of India can consider. So right now it's a question of only a very few people who were persecuted on religious grounds in Afghanistan and Pakistan and Bangladesh, and they have already come here and living here as refugees. It is only for those. It is not going to touch the citizens of this country, because the Citizenship Act of 1955 have already established all those who opted for India from the British Raj are already Indian citizens.
As you mentioned in the beginning, there are protests also in Assam and some other northeastern states. What is the difference between the agitation going on in some parts of northern India and that in northeast?
In northern India, why only northern India, up to Bihar, UP, even Karnataka, Gujarat, the agitation is that you should include and allow everybody to come into India as refugees, whereas the agitation in Assam and northeast is that nobody should be allowed to come as refugee, and those who have already come, they should be sent back. Whereas here in Delhi and around that is, no, why are you discriminating on religious ground? Allow everybody to come, whether he is an Afghan or whether he is a Pakistani national Muslim, allow everybody. Assamese are saying, no, even if Hindus have come from Bangladesh, send them back, because if they settle here, if they are granted citizenship in Assam and some parts of Northeast, they will make our political advantages into disadvantage, they will change our demography, they will change our culture, they will grab our job opportunities, and the entire spectrum would change, and then it will encourage more and more people from Bangladesh to enter Assam. So what they are demanding is that we don't want anybody to come from Bangladesh. Whosoever have come, even if you are granting them citizenship, we don't want them to settle in Assam. Take them somewhere else. So that is totally different from what is happening in the north and other parts of the country. But there again, the Act provides that it will not be applicable to the tribal areas of Assam, Meghalaya, and areas regulated by inner line permit in Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, and now Manipur. So that means that Government of India, while granting citizenship to these 6 religious persecuted minorities coming from Bangladesh, will automatically be settled in these areas. No, there is a provision.
Basically, 6 scheduled areas and inner line permit areas, they have been excluded.
Assamese says you do grant them citizenship if they are religiously persecuted, but settle them somewhere else. Otherwise, send them back. So it's a very peculiar situation taking place in this country. One segment of the society in Northeast is saying send all of them back, whereas in the rest of the country, particularly agitation in Delhi and Jamia and Aligarh and UP and Bihar is, no, allow everybody to come.
But in a way, it's a legacy of partition. And it's about India's responsibility as a civilizational state, because historically India has been abode for religiously persecuted people, be it the Parsis from Iran, be it the Buddhists from Tibet, and many other parts of the world persecuted people. They thought India was their natural abode.
Very intelligent thing you have said, and it's necessary for the younger generation to know that for centuries and for ages, anybody who felt persecuted anywhere in the world, and if they came to the shores of India, they were accepted, whether they were Jews, whether they were Iranians. The entire Parsi community came from Iran, and they are now part of India because they were really persecuted. Now that is exactly the case now. If anybody feels persecuted in this particular bill, we are talking about a limited people who were part of the British Raj. They were British subjects, and they opted for Pakistan. If they feel they are being persecuted, the Government of India has a responsibility to take care of them. But in a Muslim majority country like Pakistan, if somebody feels he is being persecuted, say for instance Ahmadiyas or any other, they can apply and Government of India will grant them citizenship. But please don't equate those who are probable persecutors or in future who are persecuted with those who have already been persecuted and living in India as refugees for more than a decade. It is only for the limited purpose of granting them citizenship. And that also is nothing automatically. All of them will have to prove that they have been persecuted. They will have to show documents. So I think for a very limited purpose, this bill has been amended. The Citizenship Act has been amended in the past also to grant OCI card to people of Indian origin.
The Supreme Court has refused to stay this operation of this bill, and there are around 60 petitions filed in the Supreme Court, which will be taken up in January. Let's hope that the Supreme Court will give us some solution, and people should know about the fact that Citizenship Amendment Act does not change the status of any Indian citizen at all, and NRC is not happening, as the Prime Minister has clarified today. It has not even been considered by the government so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Citizenship Amendment Act. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Satya Prakash, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website newsonair.com. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.